What is up, ladies and gents? You know what time of day it is. It's XCN time, and in today's video we're going to be talking all about XCN. We're going to be discussing what we are seeing here on the charts, and I'll be giving you guys my price prediction for where I think XCN is going over the next few days, as well as my target for 2025. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that. Of course, if you are a new viewer, then welcome to this channel. If you do like this sort of content, hit the like button and subscribe for more. If you are a returning viewer, as always, welcome back to this channel. It's great to have you all here. If you are looking for a great place to buy or trade Onyxcoin, then look no further than the MEXC exchange. This is the exchange that I use for my trading because they have some of the lowest trading fees. They don't require KYC to get started, and for a limited time only, they're giving every new user who signs up using the link in the description down below free $20. So if you want to make use of this offer, click in that link in the description down below, fill out your details, takes less than a minute to do so, deposit some fiat or crypto into your account, and then they'll give you that $20 straight away. And on top of normal trading, they even have futures trading here for Onyxcoin, where you can trade with up to 20 times leverage. So again, link for all of this is in the description down below if you want to give it a shot. Thank you for all of your support. Let's get into this video. So here on Onyxcoin, over the past few days, we've seen an absolutely fantastic pump, taking the prices down here from roughly 0.8 cents to a high there of 2.7 cents. That's basically a 3.5x over the space of a few days. Of course, first and foremost, congratulations to all the holders here on Onyxcoin. But if you're not yet a holder, do not worry. I personally think the prices are still going to be going much higher from here, and I'll get into that in just a bit. But first, the reason why we have seen this pump in the first place here on Onyxcoin is, if we get the annotations back up here on the screen, is because of this technical pattern that we have been seeing. Now, of course, as you can see, these two trend lines have been holding Onyxcoin in this downwards direction here for the past few months. It's been a horrible downtrend for anyone holding throughout this period. But of course, what also resulted were these two interesting trend lines that were both pointing in the downwards direction. Of course, the top one here, the resistance, every time the prices came up to this resistance here, they bounced off, got rejected from that resistance and headed back down. And every time the prices came down to this support trend line down here, we saw a bounce and the prices headed back up. So of course, these two trend lines were both pointing downwards, and they also gave us this falling wedge pattern. Now, a falling wedge pattern meant that we were going to see something bullish in the future. Now, of course, if you'd seen my previous videos, I also gave this price target here from the falling wedge of the first test of support to the first test of resistance. So this distance between those two there, we drag the measuring tool to wherever we see the breakout. And as you can see, the prices here on Onyxcoin reached the price target from this falling wedge price pattern. The price target was at 2.4 cents. We exceeded that quite a bit to 2.7 cents, but that's why we've seen some selling pressure in the shorter term. If I just go on the 1 hour chart, you guys can see that we saw our first big sell-off there from 2.7 cents all the way down to 1.8 cents. Now we're stabilizing a bit around the 2 cents region, but that is why we've seen a little bit of a sell-off. Of course, people are just taking some of their profits from the fact that we've hit the target from this falling wedge pattern. Now, like I said earlier, I do not think it is over here for Onyxcoin. I really don't think we are just going to head straight back down. In fact, what I'm seeing develop here on Onyxcoin really reminds me of what we saw back in January. Let's just go back to that time there in January when we saw that initial pump here on Onyxcoin. Of course, have a look at how this developed. Of course, we saw a really nice rally there. We saw a 7x here on Onyxcoin. Prices went up 7x in the space there of 3-4 days. And we can see that the first major sell-off here on Onyxcoin was from 1.6 cents there all the way down to 0.8 cents. So it was basically a 50% drop. So this is generally how a consolidation starts to form before the next leg up. Of course, as you can see, Onyxcoin traded sideways for about 5 days in this region here, where the prices were kind of just hovering roughly around the 1 to 1.2 cents level before seeing that next breakout to the highs there at nearly 5 cents. So what I am seeing right now here on Onyxcoin is something similar to what I'm seeing back in January. Of course, we've just seen our first major sell-off in this region. And so what I'm looking for here on Onyxcoin in the shorter term is for something like this to occur, where the prices kind of bounce between two price levels. Now, of course, this would be the perfect setup, in my opinion, for another leg up here on Onyxcoin. Of course, I'll talk about the price target from this leg up in a bit, but for this consolidation that we are seeing, we need to hold a level at roughly 1.8 cents. Now, this is a very important price level because, as you can see, it was an important resistance for the price here on Onyxcoin. Of course, this is a long-term resistance at 1.8 cents, first tested at the start of 2023. And as you can see, when we flipped it, it was used as a support multiple times by the Onyxcoin price. And now, most recently, you can see that that retracement, that sell-off that we had from 2.7 cents came down to this resistance once more. Of course, if this 1.8 cents level holds, then we could get something like we had back in January, where we see this sort of triangle pattern form. This is a bullish pennant. If we see something like this, then this means we are primed for another leg up here on Onyxcoin, just like what we had in January 2025. So this, in my opinion, would be a very bullish setup if we have this pennant. Of course, like I say, this 1.8 cents level here on the price has to hold. Now, of course, the price target stemming from a pennant looking like this, if we get those fib levels back here on Onyxcoin, because as you can see, they've been very, very well respected. We essentially tagged this 0.786 fib. If we break out of this pennant and we start to see another leg up here on Onyxcoin, after passing the previous high here at 2.7 cents, my next price target, in my opinion, is straight to the previous highs. So I would be looking at something like this, where if we break out from this consolidation to the upside, the next target should be the previous high here at roughly 5 cents. So that, guys, is my shorter term price target for where I think XCN could go over the next few days. If we see a healthy consolidation in this area here, roughly around the 2 cents region. Now, of course, there's quite a few things telling me that the prices here on Onyxcoin could still definitely go higher. And one of the major reasons, in my opinion, is the fact that if we go on the MACD, let's have a look on the 1-day chart. This is what we are seeing here right now on the MACD. And the first thing that I notice here on the MACD is that if you compare this pump that we had on the price in January, you can see you can see that the MACD went all the way up to a high there of 0.007. Of course, the MACD is a measure of the momentum here in Onyxcoin. And so the momentum back in January was so much higher than what we've seen right now. Of course, right now we are starting to see the MACD rise, which is very bullish, but we have barely risen compared to the MACD in January. So in my opinion, there's still a lot of space here for the MACD to run over the next few days. And of course, if this happens with the MACD, that should translate to prices going higher here on Onyxcoin. On top of that as well, if I get the RSI up, another important indicator, you can see that right now, although we hit a value here of 75 on the RSI, which is just about overbought, we can see that the value is nowhere near as high as what we saw in January. We went up to 95 on the RSI. So again, we've got a lot of room, in my opinion, to run even higher on the RSI. And of course, that should translate into higher prices here on Onyxcoin. Now, like I said, I'll be giving you my 2025 targets as well. And my 2025 targets here on Onyxcoin are based on the extensions from the fib levels. So of course, we have the fib levels drawn on this January pump that we had. And basically, my 2025 targets are these two upper fibs here, the 1.414 fib and the 1.618 fib. Now, this 1.414 fib is interesting to me because that is also exactly where the previous all-time high here on Onyxcoin was. It's lying right on this 1.414 fib here, and that gives us a price target on Onyxcoin of between 17 to 18 cents. So this is my first longer term target. Of course, the golden fib is the 1.618 fib, and that's telling us we could hit 32 cents here on Onyxcoin. Now, this is something that I expect towards the later part of 2025. Of course, I do believe we're going to need to see the right conditions here in crypto before XCN has a chance of reaching these price targets. That means that major cryptos, for example, like Bitcoin, are reaching new all-time highs, XRP hitting new all-time highs, and of course, extreme greed returning back into crypto. At the moment, we still have a value of 27, which is fear. That's the general market emotion here in crypto. There is mostly still fear. Of course, for cryptos to really flourish, we need to see greed and extreme greed return into the markets. I strongly believe that's going to happen in 2025 at some point. And when we do see that, generally we tend to see high prices here in crypto, and that's going to give XCN the best possible chance of reaching these upper price targets here. Of course, on top of that as well, we also have the roadmap from XCN. That's introducing this new layer 1 blockchain called Goliath. This was announced earlier this year. And basically, XCN holders can look forward to milestone announcements throughout 2025. The first one being in this quarter at some point. So by the end of June, we're going to see the new white paper for this new blockchain. That's going to be very good news for XCN holders. Of course, in quarter 3, we're going to see the first test network deployment from this XCN Goliath project. Of course, this is going to give us a glimpse at what this is going to be capable of. And of course, by the start of 2026, we're going to see that launch. So this Goliath network is supposed to be a rival to other payment systems like what XRP is developing. And if they are successful with that, that could bring a lot of attention, a lot of bullish activity here to XCN. So this is something as holders we can really look forward to. Now, of course, if you want a full list of all the things that make me bullish here, that give me conviction here on XCN, you can check out this video that should pop up on your screen right now. On top of that as well, if you have recently bought XCN but you're not yet staking it, be sure to check out my video on how to stake your XCN. It's basically like earning free passive income. If you have $1,000 worth of XCN, for example, by the end of the year, they will give you $300 in passive income just for staking your XCN. So again, be sure to check out that video if you want to learn how to stake your XCN. Otherwise, guys, that's pretty much what I wanted to say on this video. It was going to be a quick price update for what I'm thinking right now here on the charts. Of course, I make videos daily here on XCN, so I'll keep you guys up to date with any new developments as they happen. But for now, enjoy your weekend, guys. Hope it's a good one, and I'll see you in my next video.